How you doing?
Happy birthday, nephew.
That's simple. A lot of like to spend their money. We love to spend our money. We can't take none of this. None. Ain't no armored trucks pulling up at no funerals. Simple. So you better enjoy this. A fool and his money will part. We do this. So when
Yeah. So look, I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget series. Now it's time to do a big budget film.
Lil Meech just shook the hip-hop world in a way nobody was prepared for. What began as scattered accusations online quickly hardened into a serious claim that Rick Ross allegedly scammed Big Meech, dangling a massive $120 million vision that never actually materialized. Once that accusation hit the open, the story spread fast, and the tone shifted almost immediately. This was no longer gossip drifting across social media, turned into a full-scale confrontation. BMF versus Rick Ross, with no side showing any interest in backing down or softening the narrative. The streets started buzzing almost overnight. Timelines filled up, group chats stayed active, and fans split clean down the middle. Some defended Ross, pointing to his success and industry reach.
Right now, my shoulder broke, but we still getting to the money. We still count paper. This ain't a pump and dump.
Others questioned how a figure so deeply tied to street credibility could be accused of exploiting one of the most respected names in street history for clout and cash. The same question kept circulating everywhere, quietly but persistently. Did Rick Ross really hustle Big Meech, or was something else being twisted behind the scenes? At first, the situation looked like the perfect comeback story. Big Meech had just come home from prison last October, and the culture was ready to celebrate his release. There was a sense that a chapter had finally closed, and another one was opening. People believed the legend was about to rebuild his legacy the clean way this time, through films, structured businesses, and moves designed to create generational power instead of street chaos. That's when Ross stepped in. He talked in big numbers and even bigger visions, floating a $120 million film deal and pitching the idea of turning Big Meech's life story into a Hollywood legacy. On the surface, it sounded flawless. Movie contracts, luxury brand collaborations, and a global franchise built around the BMF name. To many, it felt like the next natural evolution of the story.
It would lead to February 13th, the Big Meech home benefit concert. It's going to be iconic. Too many names to list, but let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Boss Man D-Lo, 21 Savage, Sexy Red, Ricky Rose. Now, this the first time it's ever been done. Me performing BMF with the icon himself. It be special. Epic. Get your tickets right now.
I'm back.
A quick Google search for you says that your net worth is $20 million. I know I got more money than that. I might go 70 days without looking at my exact total amount of my money because it gives me anxiety, keep looking at numbers all day. It's like when you put money in stocks, the stock trader told me, say, put a lot of money in stock, don't keep looking at that. It'll drive you crazy.
But behind the scenes, the streets say the substance never matched the talk. According to those close to the situation, there was no movie, no finalized deal, and no paperwork that ever backed up those promises. Insiders claim Ross played the role smoothly, using industry connections, polished conversations, and attractive visions that never fully landed. Big Meech reportedly saw loyalty in the approach, while others viewed it as something colder and more calculated. By the time Ross walked away, he was wealthier and more visible. While the BMF name was left wrapped in confusion and unanswered expectations, one street insider summed up the mood bluntly. People felt sympathy for Lil Meech, but the blame was aimed higher.
Up, baby.
Think about it. It was all part of the plan. 50 Cent and Rick Ross, they set up Big Meech. Freeway Ricky, Rick Ross, and now you got 50 Cent He owning the rights to be.
Take a picture with Rick Ross. Put your back against the wall and just slide down.
The older heads, they said, should have known better. This wasn't friendship, and it was never about emotions. This was business. And in business, loyalty alone doesn't protect you from getting finessed when the balance of power is uneven. While all of this was unfolding, 50 Cent wasn't staying silent. From the very beginning, he had been the one who actually built the modern BMF legacy through his hit television series. He put real money behind it, funded the production, paid for Lil Meech's acting lessons, and handed him a platform that transformed him from a street-connected kid into a mainstream star. He treated the story with care, shaping it into a television phenomenon that reached far beyond the streets. That's why it stunned so many people when Lil Meech chose to align himself with Ross, instead of the man who helped him rise. That decision didn't explode publicly at first, but it started a quiet war behind the scenes. Tension built slowly, and eventually the gloves came off. 50 did what he's always done best. He started clowning Ross on social media, trolling with precision instead of randomness. He joked about Ross sending Wingstop wings to Big Meech's prison address.
Ross taking shit a couple weeks ago about a girl that you're not even with no more.
We wearing Travis Scott's all week.
What is it with you and Ross that's just been going on for so long?
Nothing else works for him outside of mentioning me. When things get bad, you mention me. It gets covered further. I get covered across the board. They get covered on the hip hop blog. It is what it is. And you watch because I have nothing else to say. You'll just see it happen periodically as it goes. You know, you see that big white elephant? That property he lives at? It costs more than the nightclubs. He's in the nightclubs. What kind of rich cut his own grass? Why are you out there cutting your own grass? You're trying to save money, nigga? You don't want to pay for the lawn to get cut, huh?
Ain't nothing wrong with cutting your grass.
But underneath the humor was a pointed message. Ross wasn't contributing to the legacy. According to 50, he was feeding off it. Then the tone shifted again. 50 started getting personal, pulling back the curtain on things fans hadn't heard before. He claimed Lil Meech had been showing up to set intoxicated, throwing up during training sessions, and losing focus when discipline mattered most. He even joked about finding whippets in Meech's truck, saying he had to Google what they were. It was delivered with sarcasm, but the implication was serious. And it added another uncomfortable layer to a story that was already spiraling fast. But the point 50 was making didn't need explaining. He wanted it understood that, in his view, he was the only one moving like an adult in the room. While everyone else was playing optics, angles, and public games with the BMF name, he positioned himself as the only person treating the situation with structure and restraint. That contrast mattered because it framed everything that followed. As the noise kept growing, Lil Meech continued smiling for the cameras alongside Ross. They were seen clubbing, posing, and presenting a united front as if nothing had changed. Publicly, everything looked polished. Privately, the streets weren't convinced anymore. The partnership started to feel staged, built more on ego and image than on substance or real outcomes.
Oh, what?
Once looked powerful, now looked performative. It didn't take long for that shift to show in public opinion. Fans who once supported the move quietly pulled back. The excitement cooled.
Biggest boss Ricky Rose just got word. Meech concert not happening tonight, but 305 is going down at the office. Meet us there. Bam!
When that song came out, that's probably like the hottest I ever seen a rapper. People was confronting Ross everywhere, 100 deep, with Larry Hoover Jr. 100 deep to confront Ross about saying the old man name in the song. Even some of the BMF guys for saying he think he Big Meech. When it come to Meech, Meech had guys getting BMF tats on their face in the pen.
Trying to decide how we gonna roll at this Meech concert tonight. 2 lambs, 4 Raris, 5 double R's, something like that.
Even Tony Yayo stepped in, reminding people that 50 had been there for Lil Meech from the very beginning. No gimmicks, no borrowed energy, just consistent backing when it actually mattered. That reminder wasn't loud, but it landed heavy. Once Lil Meech made his choice, the pressure started stacking up. Money didn't move the same. Momentum slowed. The spotlight faded faster than expected. Frustration began replacing confidence. That's when Michael Rainey Jr., known to audiences as Tariq from Power, entered the conversation with a comment that went viral almost instantly. He said he didn't feel bad for Lil Meech or Big Meech, adding that grown men should have seen this situation coming long before it blew up. Those words spread everywhere. Clips circulated across platforms, and the internet reacted in waves. While that was happening, Ross kept pushing forward like nothing had shifted. He promoted shows, shouted out tour dates, and moved as if it was business as usual. February 13th. Tickets on sale. Miami, Detroit, ATL.
I'm Big Meech, entrepreneur here at 5 Star Smiles to make sure that my smile is right forever. First off, image is everything to me, you know, so the first thing people notice is the smile. So knowing that I was going to be doing probably interviews and stuff like that and be in the limelight, I wanted to make sure that was the first thing I had did. And that's the thing, like a lot of people in the prison, they neglect our.
Take a picture with Rick Ross. You like a hoe, nigga. Put your back against the wall and just slide down.
The messaging stayed upbeat, but the timing raised eyebrows. Once 50 saw that, he escalated again. He doubled down, openly backing Michael Rainey Jr.'s comments and framing them as proof of weak loyalty and poor judgment. The message wasn't subtle. In his eyes, Lil Meech had chosen clout over loyalty, and Ross was once again benefiting from another man's name. Too many watching closely, it didn't even feel new. People close to Ross said this pattern had shown up before, with relationships cooling once the attention was secured. Right on schedule, Ross tried to flip the narrative again. He announced a supposed big-budget BMF movie, claiming it would top the television version built by 50. He even floated high-profile names like F. Gary Gray and Quentin Tarantino. To those following the situation carefully, it sounded familiar. Big claims, no confirmation, no visible groundwork. At that point, it felt like classic Ross. Loud announcements, viral moments, and constant spotlight management. But this time, the effect was different. The hip-hop world began to slow down and really look at what was being presented. That's when Wack 100 stepped into the mix and didn't hold back. He labeled Ross the real villain in the situation and refused to soften the language. Wack said, Ross was never truly loyal to Big Meech, describing him instead as a manipulator using the BMF name to take indirect shots at 50. He argued that real respect would have meant handling business quietly, without cameras, flexing, or public theatrics. Instead, Wack said Ross turned it into a circus. A one-man show built on fake loyalty and non-stop clout chasing.
Yeah. So look, I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small-budget series. Now it's time to do a big-budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie, F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up? Tarantino, there's a lot of legends. This is gonna be big, I can feel it. I'm just talking,
Every interview, every post, every announcement centered Ross himself, not the BMF legacy. Slowly, the pattern became harder to ignore. It started to look like Ross had a single objective: keep the spotlight where it benefits him most. Big Meech's name became a prop, paraded like a trophy, used to elevate image rather than protect legacy. And honestly, that said everything without needing extra explanation.
You took a picture with Rick Ross. Put your back against the wall and just slide down.
By that point, the pattern was already clear to anyone paying attention. Ross wasn't moving for the culture. He was moving for attention from the very beginning. Every move showed he was playing both sides, saying one thing publicly while positioning himself privately. He hyped Big Meech up with big talk about million-dollar projects, long-term empires, and legendary returns. The language was grand. The promises sounded powerful. But behind closed doors, the only empire that was actually growing was Ross's own brand. Along the way, he managed to drive a wedge between Big Meech and 50 Cent.
Yes, Charleston White is correct. I'm a rapper, not a dealer. Be sure to catch my new show, 50 Cent, 50 Ways to Catch a Killer.
The man who had already built the entire BMF television empire and given the name a second life in the mainstream. When the dust finally settled, all that remained were broken promises, loud headlines, and no real results to show for any of it. And Ross didn't slow down after that. Instead, he went online bragging about buying people's masters, even mocking 50 Cent by name. He claimed he could buy 50's catalog anytime he wanted, framing it as dominance rather than business. Tone wasn't subtle. It was meant to belittle.
I'm seeing a lot of about the Big Meech concert getting canceled. What I'm not seeing is anybody blaming Rick Ross for this. Nobody is saying, yo, Rick Ross.
Then he threw shade at Lil Meech too, suggesting that 50 had to take him out of Detroit just to teach him how to act. It was a slick attempt to humiliate both of them at once, but all it really revealed was Ross's need to be the loudest presence in the room. When the attention started to fade, his behavior shifted again, quietly disappeared from Meech's circle, completely ghosting him once things got uncomfortable. That silence didn't go unnoticed. That's when the rumors really began to circulate.
February 13th, the Big Meech home benefit concert. It's gonna be iconic. Too many names to list, but let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Boss Man D-Lo, 21 Savage, Sexy Red, Ricky Rose. Now, this the first time it's ever been done. Me performing BMF with the icon himself. Gonna be special, epic. Get your tickets right now.
I'm back.
Insiders started whispering that Ross played a role in Lil Meech's Welcome Home benefit concert getting canceled, a show many fans originally believed 50 had shut down. But people close to the situation told a different story. They said Ross didn't want Meech regaining momentum. He didn't want Meech back in the spotlight. Keeping him sidelined made it easier for Ross to continue presenting himself online as the one carrying the legacy. To the streets, that crossed a line. It looked like betrayal, plain and simple. Using another man's struggle as marketing material, trading a legendary name for views and clicks, and then cutting ties once it stopped being useful. Lil Meech tried to fight back online, calling 50 an internet gangster and accusing him of hiding behind social media for attention. But the response was cold. Nobody bought it. Fans saw through it immediately. They said it looked like damage control, an attempt to clean up a mess that Ross had already left behind. By then, memes were everywhere. Jokes flooded timelines.
A quick Google search for you says that your net worth is $20 million.
I know I got more money than that. I might go 70 days without looking at my exact total amount of my money because it gives me anxiety, keep looking at numbers all day. It's like when you put money in stocks, the stock trader told me, say, put a lot of money in stock, don't keep looking at that. It's gonna drive you crazy.
Think about it. It was all part of the plan. 50 Cent and Rick Ross, they set up Big Meech. Freeway Ricky, Rick Ross, and now you got 50 Cent. He owning the rights to be.
The internet clowned the entire situation, painting Lil Meech as a young man who got played inside his own story. It was uncomfortable to watch, but it also exposed how fast the industry turns when loyalty and money collide. Ross's history only made the picture sharper. Every time he links up with someone who already carries respect, something messy follows. Deals fall apart. Loyalty fades. People get left behind. It's a cycle that's played out more than once. Look at Maybach Music Group, Meek Mill, Whale, Gunplay. Names that once stood proudly under Ross's wing. Behind the success, there were stories of missing checks, shady paperwork, and years of frustration. Those stories kept stacking up. Public support on the surface, private control behind the scenes, ego over teamwork, control over collaboration. Over time, that pattern became impossible to ignore. Ross knew how to move the chessboard. He always did. And more often than not, those moves boosted him while costing everyone else. If Ross truly cared about BMF, the move would have been simple and quiet. He would have built with Big Meech behind the scenes, honoring the legacy with discipline and respect. Instead, he went public on purpose, fully aware that 50 Cent would respond. This wasn't just business, it was pride, it was power. And 50 wasn't reacting out of ego. He was protecting something real, a brand he built from the ground up.
This is the gentleman's side of Meech, right?
Yep.
The plane lands Friday night. It's like 12 midnight. Alex calls me. He's like, yo, Chris, Meech needs the biggest suite in Cancun. I'm like, I ain't no travel agent. He's like, no. When I landed, they told me that you got the presidential suite at the Coral Beach. I'm like, are you crazy? Like, I love Meech, but I'm not giving him my room. I'm like, yo, man, I'm not giving him my room. He's like, he'll give you $60,000 right now. I was paying $3,000 a night. He had that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But here's the gentleman's side of me. I switched to another suite. I get a phone call. I'm like, yo, what's up? Who's this? He's like, yo, is this Chris Latimer? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yo, we up in the presidential suite. I got some messages from you. I'm like, all right, cool, man. Tell me what they are. And I'm like, yo, brother, man, thanks a lot, man. Yo, tell Meech, good looking out, man. He's like, Chris, it is Meech.
That's important because a lot of people don't understand. To get to the top, you have to pay attention to every small detail. Okay. And knowing me calling him hear my voice, he knows the kind of man that I am.
Ross wasn't building anything new. He was poking the bear because attention was the goal. That pattern wasn't new. Even Meek Mill, once considered Ross's right-hand man, eventually distanced himself after realizing Maybach Music Group wasn't structured for everyone to win. The spotlight was only wide enough for one person. That person was always Rick Ross. Now the same playbook was being used again, this time on Big Meech and Lil Meech. The $120 million empire that was supposed to change their lives turned out to be a ghost deal. Big numbers. Big promises. Nothing solid underneath. While Meech and his son were left dealing with the fallout, Ross walked away with another round of free publicity. More interviews, more headlines, more followers. That's when people really started connecting the dots. Every time Ross's momentum slows, he attaches himself to someone with credibility. He did it with Drake during the MMG era, then with Meek, then by invoking Larry Hoover. While Ross chased headlines, 50 Cent moved differently. He flipped the entire system, took real stories and turned them into billion-dollar franchises. Power, raising QAnon. BMF, he transformed pain into profit. History into storytelling, and storytelling into business empires. That contrast matters. Out. One man builds, the other borrows. And the streets have been paying attention. Fans started saying it plainly. Ross plays checkers. 50 plays chess. One thinks short-term, chasing viral moments and quick attention. The other thinks years ahead, laying foundations that last. With each new development, the truth became harder to hide. Every time Rick Ross steps into someone else's world, that world ends up fractured. Confused and diminished, while he walks away smiling for the cameras. By this point, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Tone, would, want, He builds his shine off other people's names, flipping their struggles into branding opportunities. Loyalty fades, clout remains. And when you look back at his career, it feels less like coincidence and more like repetition. It didn't start with Big Meech, it goes all the way back to the real Rick Ross, the actual drug kingpin whose name the rapper adopted while that man was locked up. Ross built his entire rap identity on another man's story. The real Rick Ross even took him to court trying to reclaim his name. Ross didn't back down. He doubled down, profiting off the myth until the brand grew bigger than the truth itself. Then it happened again. Larry Hoover's name became another prop, dropped into songs, visuals, and interviews, like a trend. Men who built real power in the streets were reduced to references used to elevate Ross's image. And now, the same thing is happening with Big Meech. Another legacy borrowed. Another story remixed. Another name absorbed into the Rick Ross brand. The difference this time is that the streets are watching closer than they ever have before. Every move is being slowed down, replayed, and examined. People are seeing how Ross turned real pain into content, real loyalty into headlines, and real legacies into marketing campaigns. And while he keeps winning the attention game on the surface, the people he aligns himself with almost always lose something that can't be replaced. Easily. Respect, reputation, peace of mind, something is always taken. At the same time, 50 Cent's name continues to grow stronger while Ross stays loud. 50 plays a different game. He plays the long one. He stacks projects, flips real stories into structured businesses, and creates value that lasts. He isn't chasing validation or trending moments. He's building empires. Years ago, 50 warned people about Ross, calling him a fraud long before it was popular to say. Now, step by step, everything he said is unfolding in real time. Fans aren't guessing anymore. They have receipts, screenshots, and old interviews that show how Ross moves. Attention over authenticity. Optics over outcomes. One viral comment summed it up in a way that stuck. Rick Ross is a fraud, period. He damaged a whole legacy chasing clout. That line hit hard because when everything is lined up, it fits. The pattern doesn't need interpretation. It explains itself. Ross builds his shine off the energy of people who already have real credibility. He steps in close, speaks in big promises, and once things start to crack, he disappears. From MMG artists to street connections, the ending stays the same. Even the way he hyped the BMF movie followed that formula. Dropping major Hollywood names, floating massive budgets, making it sound inevitable. But behind the talk, there was nothing solid holding it up. No movie, no script, no confirmed deal. Just more headlines, keeping him trending while everyone else is left cleaning up the fallout. Now that Lil Meech is catching the backlash, people are questioning how it got this far. Whether loyalty clouded his judgment, whether he trusted the wrong person, or whether he got caught inside a larger hustle he didn't fully see coming. Either way, the damage is already done. It's a harsh lesson, especially in an industry where image is everything. Ross understands that better than most. When things get quiet, he finds a new name to attach to. A new spark to keep himself relevant. But every time the cycle repeats, chaos follows. Relationships fracture. And in the end, the only person who consistently walks away untouched is Rick Ross. Even those who were once close to him have started creating distance. Former associates talk about being left behind. Artists speak on shady contracts and stalled progress. Business partners describe big talk with little delivery. To them, Ross's empire isn't built on trust. It's built on illusion. Every move is calculated for exposure, not loyalty. Every headline is crafted to look powerful, even when it's standing on someone else's foundation. That's why the streets are asking a different question now. Was Ross ever loyal to Big Meech? Or was he trying to become Big Meech in the eyes of the culture? When you really look at it, the question makes sense. The BMF track that helped elevate Ross wasn't about honoring a friend. It was about absorbing a legend and turning it into personal shine. It was never just about business deals or music connections. It was about embodying an image, stepping into an identity, and absorbing the respect that already existed around it. That's how Ross's brand has been built from the beginning. Other people's legacy